Welcome to In It to Win It. This is Steve Barton, and thank you for tuning in. I am here with the man, the myth, the legend, Ross Beaty. Ross, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Legend in my own mind, anyway.
And ours as well. I think probably everyone watching this show knows who you are, but for the few living under a rock who don't, go ahead and tell us your story and how you got into mining and investing.
So this is going to take about 4 hours.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I'll start at the beginning. I was born in Vancouver a long time ago, and I love the outdoors, so I became a geologist.
Okay.
And then I started my own little contract geology company after university, and I discovered I was a pretty good salesman. I could sell stories and get jobs for my little company. And then that was in the early years in the 1980s when the Vancouver Stock Exchange was roaring. It was, full of scam companies and, crazy promoters. But, I was here and I took a little property in northern BC public. And interestingly enough, I know you know Rick Rule. Rick was one of my seed investors. This is back like 1985.
Okay.
85. So I took the company public, raised a grand total of $145,000, paid the underwriters $7,500, and I thought it was outrageous. And then paid about $7,500 to the lawyers and the accountants to do all the stuff they have to do. Anyway, netted the money, went to the property, by the way, I took public, never had a single scrap of gold on it, by the way. It's supposed to be a gold property. Never did we find a grain of gold. That was kind of typical of the Vancouver Stock Exchange. Then I went to Africa, went to Liberia. And I bought a drill and I hired a driller, went to Africa, drilled a pile of holes. Africa turned into a total disaster. Liberia went into a revolution. I lost everything we had there. But that was my first company. That actually ended up doing well. We discovered a gold mine in Nevada, like from just prospecting. Became a mine. Sold that company to Hecla. Started Pan American Silver. Built a big company. It's pretty huge now. It's like $8 billion or $9 billion market cap US.
Yep.
And along the way, a whole bunch of other companies, totaling like 15, I think, so far in my career, and most of them are exploration stocks. You discover something or you acquire a small property, you explore it, add value, and then you sell it. And I've done that, I don't know, I've done that like 11 times or 10 times. And then I built some big operating companies like my first company was Equinox Resources, big operating company, Pan American Silver. I did a renewable energy company along the way called Altera, Altera Power. I wanted to do something green, so I built the renewable energy business. And then I sold that into a company that still exists today. It's another really big company. And then Equinox Gold is my last company. I started that with a whole team of people in 2018, so 7 years ago to this month. And we've been working on that pretty hard. It's almost like, to me, it's almost hit the first real milestone of what we tried to achieve in our mission at the beginning, which is to build a really big producing gold company.
Yeah.
We're basically
$2 billion, $2.5 billion market cap, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Are your watchers American principally or Canadian or?
About 50% American, 20% Canadian, and then the rest are spread through Australia, England, and then Germany. Actually, we have a decent following.
So I'll talk U.S. dollars all the way through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, you kind of brushed over it. How did you and Rick meet? What was
Rick, I didn't know him from Adam.
Okay.
But I had to raise a little bit of money in this little tiny company. And back in the 80s, early 80s, Rick was a Vancouver guy. He had a bar in downtown Vancouver. He was like the doorman. He was first of all the bouncer, and then he was actually the owner, I think. And he got involved. He's a smart guy, as you know. He went to school here, and got involved in the investment business, kind of just because he really liked it.
Yeah.
And he was one of my seed shareholders, and I didn't know him at all, but I got to know him. And I had this gold property in California. Again, I did some crazy stupid things in that first company. Just what was I thinking kind of stuff. I had this gold deposit in California called Zenda.
Okay.
And it had a total gold resource of 50,000 ounces total. And I had this plan. I was going to build a gold mine there in California. This is Kern County, just north of LA. 15,000 ounces a year for 3 years. I thought it was incredibly clever. I wasted 2 years trying to get a permit. 2 years, and I worked hard at it. And Rick, because he was a shareholder of my first company, he came up one day to visit it with his old Willys Jeep. He had his old beat-up Jeep, And I just took a real liking to him, and we've been really close friends ever since.
Huh, huh.
Yeah.
I just did an episode with him across the street at the MIF, and he was like, I used to live 3 blocks away from here, and I had the same exact view. So that's pretty much where you met him.
I met him. I don't know where I met him. Like, I met him, but I know he was an original shareholder of Equinox, and then I had lots and lots of. He was very hooked into the investment research, like the newsletter writer crowd.
Yeah.
And so they were important to me because they were helping me promote my companies, like Bob Bishop, Adrian Day, Mark Skiles, and all those guys in the 80s. So there were often conferences. Rick used to run an annual conference, and I always went there. So I spent a lot of time with Rick over the years, a ton of time. He's been a seed shareholder of every single one of my companies, all the way through.
Okay. That's one of the first things that he taught me. He's really taken me under his wing. Is he's like, you find these guys that are serially successful, and he always mentions you. He mentions Bob Cornermain, Lundin, yes, Robert Friedland. You're in the top echelon in his mind as well. Okay, tell us about Pan American Silver. How did that start? How did you build that one up?
Simple story. I mean, Pan American started when I sold Equinox, my first Equinox in 1994. I didn't want to retire. I took my kids to Disneyland and had a little of that Wonderland experience, and then came back and I started something else. I had decided there weren't really any good silver equities that people could buy, so I thought, well, why not build one?
Okay.
And so from nothing, it was just a big idea to become the world's biggest silver producer and best silver play for equity investors. Kind of exactly what I'm trying to do with Equinox Gold in gold.
Yeah.
And it worked out, but it was a lot of work. It started in '94, almost went bankrupt by 2001. In 1994, I confidently predicted the silver price would go from what it was then at $5 up to $10. I was sure it was going to double, and I had all the reasons, and I was a great presenter, could convince everybody that was the case. Of course, needless to say, at the end of the decade, it was $4, not $10.
Yeah.
Everything I said was wrong, but I had built up an asset base in silver that was worthless when silver hit $4.
Oh,
it was worthless.
Okay.
And then, lucky me, the skies opened, the sun began to shine, and in 2002, after just about going bankrupt, silver ran to $50 an ounce. 50.
Yeah.
Our stock went from $3 a share to $50 a share in that glorious run, and and we opened up 5 mines in 5 years.
Wow.
And we had lots of crazy adventures in Russia and Mexico and like all over the place, but at the end of the day, we were lucky with our timing. We were ready for that run, but of course it hadn't happened exactly when I felt it should. So, we just worked really hard, and of course Pan American today, I'm out of the company really. I retired. I'm still a chairman emeritus, and it's a wonderful company. Last year it produced a lot of silver, 20-some million ounces, but also almost 900,000 ounces of gold. It ended the year with $1 billion on its balance sheet in cash, like virtually no debt. And I mean, it's got 24,000 employees, 11 mines in 6 countries. It's a huge company now, so I'm obviously pretty proud of that.
Yeah.
So I was out of that about 5 or 6 years ago, and that's one of the reasons I said, okay, I've got one more company left in me.
Yeah.
I'd sold a couple of other companies. I'm gonna work with some other guys in Vancouver who have the same attitude, and I'm gonna try to build a big new custom-created vehicle to give equity investors the best possible leverage to higher gold prices. I was bullish on gold, so we started Equinox at the beginning of 2018, and here we are 7 years later.
Yeah, over $2 billion.
Yeah.
I interviewed the gals at your booth over there.
Yeah, they're good.
I own your company. Okay, so just quick overview, market cap, cash, debt.
About a $2.7 billion market cap. Goes up and down. Extremely liquid. We trade 50, 60, $70 million worth every day. We're in all the indexes. We have 8 operating mines. We produced just under 600,000 ounces of gold last year. We'll produce way more than that this year. We have 4 mines in Brazil, 1 mine in Mexico. 4 mines in Brazil, 1 mine in Mexico, 1 mine in California, and of course a brand new mine in Ontario called Greenstone. The Greenstone mine It's taken us 3 years to build. It's cost $1.2 billion to build. And then after 3 years, when we opened it up on time, on budget, as soon as we opened it up, like a week before it started producing, our partner came to us and said they wanted to sell Orion, Mine Finance. They were just financial partners. So we gave them $1 billion and bought their stake. So we own it 100% now. And it's going to transform Equinox Gold into one of the lowest cost gold producers, the largest gold producers in Canada, and it will be the asset that really is the cornerstone asset to allow Equinox to really hit our 1 million ounce threshold and really get to for me at least, attain the mission that we originally created, which was to build a vehicle with large production, really large reserves and resources to give investors fabulous leverage to higher gold prices.
Yeah, yeah.
And you could ask, well, has it worked? And the answer to that is, it really hasn't worked yet, because we've been working so hard to finance and build this big mine. It's been a big challenge. Spending $1 billion when you've only got a $2.5 billion market cap to buy out a partner is a lot of money. So we had to issue a lot of debt, issue a lot of shares. We're done that.
Yeah.
We're making money now. We're focused on using the cash flow from all of our mines to get rid of our debt. We've got about $1.3 billion in debt. We paid off $180 million last quarter. It's just going to be chopped away at as quickly as possible this year.
Okay.
So that's the game. We're not spending money anymore of any significance. We're bringing a lot of cash flow in, and you might ask now, well, where are we going to go now? And the answer is, I'm not sure. This year, the focus is on paying down the debt, and after we get some of that done, we'll figure out whether we want to build other assets we've got or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what when it comes to Greenstone, massive deposit, super exciting there. What you have 19 or 20 million ounces in reserves? Is that right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Greenstone doesn't have that much. Greenstone.
No, I mean total.
Yeah, we've got huge amount. We got I don't even know the numbers. 20 million in reserves and 25 million in resources.
It's a
huge number. Yeah, giant number.
Okay.
Yeah, we're here for a long time.
Okay. And
I hope a good time.
Yes, I hope so too. Okay, how much of your company do you own?
I don't know, 5 or 6%.
Okay, all right. Very vested.
I'm very vested.
Yeah. Okay.
Our whole team owns, I don't know how much, a bit more than that, but everybody has stock.
Okay. What's the biggest unanswered question facing Equinox?
At this moment, there's not a lot.
Okay.
Because about a year ago there was a lot. The big mine we were building, was it going to be built on time?
Yeah.
Was it going to be built on budget? And of course, if we hadn't done it on budget, we would have blown our brains out.
Yeah.
So a lot of risk, a lot of worry. And then when we bought our partner up, we had to raise $1 billion. That was a lot. That was a hangover for quite a long time while we digested that. But right now the mine's up and running. That risk is gone. The other mines we have are doing well. We have one mine in Mexico.
Filos?
Yeah, Los Filos, which is still a bit of a question mark because it hasn't made us any. We bought it it came with an acquisition in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't made us any money at all. We've had community agreements we inherited that we need to change. And so we're in the middle of changing those right now. That's the most important thing we're working on. Otherwise, really, the company's in great shape, and I predict a fabulous year for us this year.
Awesome. So around Mexico, is it with the new political administration or
No,
more locally?
It's all local, yeah.
Okay.
The local communities, the mine has a long history, and the previous companies to us gave them very generous terms that satisfied the companies when it was a very high profit mine with surface mining.
Yeah.
But as we go deeper, it becomes more expensive, requiring a new processing technology, and we need to change the agreements to reflect our higher costs.
Okay.
So that's where we're at right now with that mine. So that's the only thing that is a question mark, but I hope we'll have that resolved really shortly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about Lumina Gold.
Well, Lumina Gold, that's another company that kind of is. So the story that company, the story there started back in the 2002.
Okay.
And in 2002, I started a copper vehicle called Lumina Copper. Lumina Copper, the plan there was to go around and buy a bunch of big copper deposits that were uneconomic at the then copper price.
Okay.
It was kind of a roll-up. So I ended up buying 10 copper deposits. And over the next 12 years, until 2014, We developed them and we sold them all for about $2 billion. We invested a couple $100 million in them, sold them for $2 billion. So it was a home run.
Yeah.
6 companies. Then we did a nickel company, sold that, and then we went down to Ecuador, which was really undeveloped around the 2014-15 period. It was just kind of opening up, and we acquired a project there called Cangrejos, named the entity Lumina Gold. So the same Lumina team that worked on our Lumina copper assets, really solid team, and we've invested probably $100 million in exploration and development. We're just finishing a feasibility study. We've been trying to sell it now for about 4 years.
Okay.
And we've gone to the altar 3 times, but for various reasons we just haven't concluded a deal. We did a $300 million financing with Wheaton a year and a half ago, which we're spending right now, non-dilutive money. And so it's a huge low-grade gold deposit in a lower region of Ecuador near Guayaquil, not the high mountains, and I think it's 23 million ounces of gold. It'll produce 300,000 ounces for 25 years at a very low cash cost. It's great numbers. It's got a net present value today of about between $4 and $5 billion, and the stock's trading for 160 million.
Wow,
that's a classic example of the market we're in right now, where those smaller companies have incredible upside, but there's just no new money coming into that space in that particular type of company.
Rick has told me about this company, but I've never looked at it.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's not that well followed. I mean, I'm the largest shareholder, and we generally don't deal with brokers. We don't need a lot of money. I mean, I've been writing checks mostly myself. Yeah. So the analysts don't really follow it too much, but it's getting more coverage now. And in April, when we finish the feasibility study, it'll get a lot more coverage after that this year.
You're doing a feasibility study?
We're doing a feasibility study right now.
Okay, so 425 is the catalyst. Okay, all right. I will look into it then. Okay, so you say low grade. Is it open heap leach?
It's all open pit. It'll be a mill, but it's all open. It's copper. Gold and copper.
Gold and copper.
Yeah, okay. So it's just regular old mine. It's no technical complications at all.
Okay, what's the grade?
Oh God, gold grade is 0.6 grams per ton, 0.7 grams per ton, something like that, and then copper. Adding copper, it adds another couple of points.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Okay, well that's above my kindergarten 0.5, so that'll work.
We're making good money in California right now, mining at Mesquite at about a 0.3 grams per ton. You bet.
Okay.
It's the lowest grade gold mine in the world. We're making good money.
All right.
It's amazing. Like that's enough. That's enough gold in a ton of rock, equaling 2 grains of sand in the palm.
Wow.
That's how little 0.3.
Huh. Yeah. How do you make that profitable?
Heap leach. Very efficient technology.
Very efficient heap leaching. Okay.
In California.
Okay.
Good people.
The toughest place to do it.
It's only the toughest place to permit, not the toughest place to mine. When you've permitted, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. After that, you're good.
Good miners, good contractors, low taxes. It's a great place to be.
Okay. Okay. All right. And what is the big unanswered question around Lumina? Who's going to buy it?
Who's going to buy it, and when is it going to be bought? That's the question. I mean, Equinox, maybe Equinox will buy it. I don't know. It's not in our plan right now because we're trying to pay down debt. Mm-hmm. But in a while, I don't know when. It's the kind of company we'll look at. There's a bunch of companies like Lumina out there in this market. Here in this conference, there's a good number of really, really good investment vehicles for people. It's just a really good buyer's market in that sector because gold's run. Yeah. The gold equities haven't run.
Yes.
So that disconnect is what I think we're going to see a change. When generalist investors come into the market, you're going to see a hell of a move in those smaller companies. Yeah. Everything will double overnight.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. When I look at the Mag 7, I'm a technical analyst, so I can see the topping pattern that's happening. That money has to go somewhere.
Yep.
And when it doesn't work in those, I think some of it will find its way into precious metals.
I agree.
Okay, Ross, thank you very much. Is there any final thoughts
all good.
You have? Okay, if our viewers want to get in touch with you or follow your companies, how can they do so?
They can. I had under a rock. No, they can. they can. I mean, I'm not the CEO of either of these companies, so Lumina Gold is easily to find. And there's a guy named Scott Hicks who's the corporate relations guy. He's really good. You can contact him. I forget. Anyway, Lumina Gold, easy to find. And then Equinox Gold, same thing. Rylyn Bailey is the IR manager there. Mm-hmm. She's easy to find and very responsive to any questions of investors. And like to say, I hide under a rock.
Okay.
I do this once a year. I do this like once a year. You just grab me. So
Perfect.
Here I am.
Heard it first here on In It to Win It.
All
Ross,
right.
thank you very
My
much.
pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in. Be sure to support the show and share this with anyone that you think needs to hear it. It's probably your buddy that can't stop talking about tech stocks. You have yourself a great rest of the day, and we will talk to you next time.